coming back to Intellivision, apparently. All right, well, now it is my pleasure to chat with the SVP of Global Marketing at Bethesda, Pete Hines, because we literally can't wait for what's coming down. 5:30 today, right?
Not
Pete?
long, yeah.
I know you guys are down at the Shrine rehearsing, and we convinced Pete to take a little break from his rehearsal to come up here, not to necessarily break any news, but to perhaps tease what we can expect tonight from Bethesda. It's a big press conference. So first of all, there's some rumors already out there. I saw that the Tango guys seem to be, Mikami seems to be teasing that he's in town maybe rehearsing.
People come to E3 all the time, Jeff.
Okay, so we're not going to see him tonight?
You have to tune in tonight to see him.
Okay, I saw him teasing. He was like in rehearsal. So, all right, well, you guys have, there's some stuff you can talk about, though, that we know about. Doom Eternal, which I got to play a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
So much fun with it from the id guys. Obviously announced last year.
Yep.
You guys announced a lot of stuff for the future.
We did.
What are we going to see on Doom Eternal tonight? What can we expect?
We're going to get to see a lot more Doom Eternal than you've gotten to see. We got a whole bunch of new stuff. Maybe some more info on some aspects of the game you haven't seen. We've focused largely on the single player, which you're going to see lots of tonight.
Okay.
Maybe there's some other stuff to come besides single player tonight.
Okay. Well, we would hope there'd be some awesome MP stuff we'll hear about. And that's, you said when that's coming out?
We have not.
Here tonight?
We'll see. Tune in, Jeff.
What exactly? Well, it's, exactly.
You got to try.
Well, the thing is, what I'm going to ask you from a macro perspective is last year, you guys had so much stuff that you announced in that press conference, right? I mean, Todd was 76, and then into Starfield, and Tez 6, and I mean, Wolfenstein Youngblood, Doom Eternal. You set such a high bar. Should we expect that amount of news again this year from you guys? Hard to top.
Look, every year is different, right? And for us, it's usually about. Look, I always want to manage expectations. I would rather exceed your expectations than fall short.
Expect nothing.
Yeah. The reason that we did some stuff that we didn't do in previous years, like talk about Tez 6 and Starfield, was to set context for what that studio is up to. Because as Todd said, Fallout 76 was a very different type of game, and we didn't want people, assuming the wrong kinds of things. This year, we're going to focus on the things that we're ready to talk about. We do have some surprise announcements, some things, some new things to talk about, and we are going to be talking about stuff that like updates on. More on Doom, updates on Rage 2 and Elder Scrolls Online and stuff like that.
Okay. As you guys have more sort of service-based games, obviously Elder Scrolls Online, that's always been a huge success for you guys, and that's been a part of the press conference. Something like 76, which, as we know, obviously had its challenges at launch. How much do you?
That's putting it mildly.
Okay. Well, yes. I'm trying to be polite here, but it's like
we can call a spade a spade.
Okay. So let's talk about that then, if you want to put it that directly. So obviously Todd sold a big vision at E3 last year. Had a launch which was not the finest hour for you guys. So how do you look at that when you come back to E3? Do you say, hey, let's just ignore it? You look at like an Anthem they didn't really talk about yesterday, or do you dive right in and say, here's how we're fixing it, double down?
I think we have to address it head on.
Okay.
That's our approach in general. We can't run from it. We can't hide from it. That was our approach on Elder Scrolls Online. You just mentioned Elder Scrolls Online. What is success? That was not the narrative of that game when we first launched it on PC. There was a lot of well, this isn't Skyrim, or this isn't what I'm looking for in my Elder Scrolls. We are not ones to give up just because we hit some bumps or challenges. Right. And like with Elder Scrolls Online, where the team kept at it, made lots of improvements, changed fundamentally how that game worked. And it has been, honestly, it is remarkable what a success that game has been and continues to be, as Matt will talk about tonight. Our approach is no different on 76. We have made a ton of fixes and changes. Wild Appalachia and the updates we've done has been really, really well received. We still have a long way to go, but we are not quitters. We're not going to give up. We got a really great group of folks that continue to play that game and give us good feedback, and we are going to stick to it and address it.
So when you look at it, and part of it's in marketing too, I guess, when you look back, what did you learn from that? You've been doing games for 20 plus years. It's like, what's the takeaway? Like, how does Bethesda change its approach at E3 or moving forward coming out of that? It's a complicated question to unpack.
It is a complicated question. I'll keep it general and just say we learned a lot. I think the studio learned a lot as they admitted they had never done a game like this before. I think they realized in retrospect there's some things probably they would have done differently. I'm not a dev, so it's really not for me to get into that stuff. I think it's better for Todd and.
It was from a marketing perspective, you guys sold it certainly as like a big bombastic kind of Fallout experience. Some people say, hey, you know, maybe it could have had a slower early access ramp or whatever. And
sure. I mean, there's any number of things in retrospect we might have done differently. But at the end of the day, there are some lessons that we can take away from it going forward. But more importantly for us is to own it and fix it.
Yep.
And you know, the main thing that I've tried to do is to make sure that we as a company and they as a studio are communicating, are talking to the players that we do have, figuring out how to improve the game, figuring out the things that people want. You know, from a marketing standpoint, comms, PR, community, that's the best thing that we can do is figure out how do we get us to be more transparent and to connect better with our players. And I think that is an area where we've improved a lot since launch as well.
Yeah, no, and I said when you get into an E3 press conference mode, I think it's good and honest to be able to say, hey, we're going to address everything. We're not just going to focus on the things we can control.
No, I think that would be a mistake if we went through tonight and didn't speak to the elephant in the room. So we're gonna.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that. And I also wanted to ask you about just the industry in general, since you've been in it for so many years. You've been to how many? 20 plus E3s,
This is my
right?
20th at Bethesda, 22 overall. So
yeah, so
long
a lot of E3s, and you know it's an interesting year with Phil Harrison's going to be here with Stadia in a little bit. You guys are certainly making a pretty heavy bet, I think, on that in terms of partnering with that. So, where do you see kind of the industry going? I mean, there's rumors Xbox is going to talk about the new generation systems. We know PlayStation coming out. I think it's good for people that create content that there are more places and more ways to access it.
For sure. You know, the interesting thing about streaming is that even though there's going to be a variety of different players in this space, the delta between supporting one and another is a lot different than the delta between one console and another, right? The way that Sony decides to architect a console and the way that Microsoft do result in pretty healthy amounts of works to get a game to work on that specific box. With a streaming service, it's not exactly the same. So when you're talking about you know, Stadia or an xCloud, or you and Pac were talking about Amazon, whoever it is that has them, it's just not that wildly different. And the big thing for us, you know, I've said to you on any number of occasions, is you put all this time and effort into making a game, you want as many people as possible to be able to play it, and that's what streaming means for us. It means people in areas where it's hard to get your hands on a console, or they simply don't have the resources to outlay that kind of cash for a machine. But I can pull up my phone and download a full experience game that I would have never gotten to play and be able to stream it where I am. That's a pretty big game changer, and something that we as a company have been looking into ourselves for a while and looking into tech in that area. So yeah, we're very excited about the possibility of lots more people being able to play what we make.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And you said it's where it's all going. I think we all agree eventually we're going to get there. It's just getting through all the technical hurdles.
Yeah, there is no magic like, next year it's all like everything has changed. In some ways, and I don't mean to compare the two, but you know, there was a lot of similar questions around VR when VR started rolling out. You know, we showed it, a lot of other folks were rolling it out. I don't think there's any one like, oh, now everything on gaming is this one platform or this one thing. Gaming is simply too diverse, it's too varied, and honestly, I think that's the way that it should be. People will find the games they want to play on the platforms they want to play them on.
All right, well, big press conference tonight, 5:30, about an hour of Bethesda goodness, right?
A little more than an hour,
Okay. And we'll, I think Todd's already said we're not going to, but we won't see anything on Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6 tonight?
We've already said to make sure we manage expectations. There won't be anything on Starfield or TED 6, but I think there's plenty to tune in to see.
Okay, well, you guys always put on a phenomenal show.
Thank you.
Lots of big news. Thank you for bringing the goodness to E3. We'll see you on stage probably tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Pete Hines, always a great
to see
seeing
you
you here at E3.